The human voice. It's the instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world, probably. It's the only one that can start a war or say I love you. And yet, many people have the experience that when they speak, people don't listen to them. And why is that? How can we speak powerfully to make change in the world? What I'd like to suggest, there are a number or habits that we need to move away from. I've assembly for your pleasure here seven deadly sins of speaking. I'm not pretending this is an executive, but this even I think are pretty large habits that we can all fall into. First gossip. Speaking I of somebody who's not present, not a nice perfectly. Well, the person gossiping 5 minutes later will the gossip about us. Second, judging. We know people who are like this in conversation, and it's very hard to listen to somebody if you know that you're being judged and found by one thing and the same time. Third, negativity. You can fall into this. My mother in the last year of her life became very negative and it's hard to listen. I remember one day I said to her, "It's October 1 today." And she said, "I know, isn't it dreadful?" It's hard to listen when somebody that negative and another form of negativity complaining, well, this is the national art of the UK. It's our national sport. We complain about the weather, sport, about politics, about everything, but actually complaining is visual necessary. It's not spreading sunshine and lightness in the world. Excuses. We've all met this guy, maybe we've all been this guy. Some people have a blame thrower. They just pass into on to everybody else and don't take responsibility for their action. And again, hard to listen to somebody who is being like that. Penultimate, the six of the seven embroidery exaggeration. It demands our language actually sometimes. For example, if I see something that really I saw, what do I call it? And then of course this exaggeration becomes lying and we don't want to listen to people we know are lying to us. And finally, dogmatism, the confusion of facts with opinions. When those two things get conflated, you're listening into the wind. You know somebody is bombarding you with their opinions as if they were true. It's difficult to listen to that. So here they are seven deadly sins of speaking. These are things I think we need to avoid. But is there a positive way to think about this? Yes, there is. I'd like to suggest that there are four really powerfully cornerstone foundations that we can stand on if we want our speech to be powerful and to make change in the world. Fortunately, these things spell a word. The word is hail, and it has a great definition as well. I'm not talking about the stuff of that falls from the sky and hits you on the head. I'm talking about his definition to greet our acclaim enthusiastically, which is how I think our word will be received if we stand on these four things. So what do they stand for? See if you can guess. The H, honesty. Of course, being true in what you say, being straight and clear. The A is authenticity. Just being yourself. A friend of mine described it as standing in your own truth, which I think is a lovely way to put it. The I is integrity. Being your word, actually doing what you say, and being somebody people can trust. And the L is love. I don't mean romantic love, but I don't mean wishing people well for two reasons. First of all, I think absolutely honesty may not be what I mean. My goodness, you look ugly this morning. Perhaps that not necessary, tempered with love. Of course, honesty is a rating, but also if you're really wishing somebody well, it's very hard to judge them at the same time. I'm not even sure you can do those two things simultaneously. So hey, also know that's what you say, and it's like the old songs. It is what you say. It also the way that you say it. You have an amazing toolbox. This instrument is incredible, and yet this is a toolbox that very few people have ever opened. I'd like to have a little rummage in there with you now and just pull a few tools or that you might like to take away and play with, which will increase the power of your speaking register. For example, now falsetto register may not be very useful most of the time, but there are register in between. I'm not going to get very technical about this for any of you who are voice coaches. You can locate your voice. However, so if I talk up here in my nose, you can hear the difference if I go down here in my throat, which, which is where most of us speaking from most of the time. But if you want to it, you need to go down here to the test. You hear the difference. We vote for politicians with lower voice. It's true because we associate depth with power and with authority that's registered. Then we have timbre. It's the way your voice feels. Again, the research show what we prefer voice which are rich, smooth, warm, like hot chocolate. Well, if that's not you, that's not the end of the world. Because you can train, go and get a voice coach. And there are amazing things I can do with breathing, with posture, and with exercise to improve the timbre of your voice. The prosody, I love prosody. This is the sing song, the meta language that we use in order to impart meaning its root one for meaning it conversation. People who speak all on one note are really quiet, hard to listen to if they don't give any prosody at all. That's where the word monotonic comes from monotonous. Monotone also we have repetitive prosody. Now coming in where every sentence ends as if it were a question when it's actually not a question. It's a statement, and if you repeat that one, it's actually restricting your ability to communicate through prosody, which I think is a shame. So let's try and break that habit. Please, I can get very excited by raising something really quick, or I can slow right down to emphasize. And at the same end of that, of course, is our old friend silence. There's nothing wrong with a bit of silence in a talk. Is there? We don't have to fill it with hums and hush. It can be very powerful. Of course, pitch often goes along with pace to indicate arousal. But you can do it just with pitch. Where did you live, Mikey? Where did you live, Mikey? So slightly different meaning in those two delivers. And finally, volume. I can get really excited by using volume. Sorry about of that. If I start tell anybody or I can have your really pay attention by getting very quiet. Some people broadcast the whole time. Try not to do that. That's called sadcasting. Imposing your sounds on people around you carelessly and inconsiderately. Not nice, of course. Where where this all comes into play most of all is when you got something really important to do. It might be standing on a stage like this ends giving a talk to people. It might be proposing marriage, asking for a raise, a wedding speech. Whatever it is, if it's really important, you owe it to self to look at this toolbox and the engine that it's going to work on, and no engine works well without being warmed up. Warm up your voice. Actually, let me show you how to do that. The six vocal warm up exercise that I do before every talk I ever do. Anytime you're going to talk to anybody important to do this. First, arms up, deep breath in, and sight out, like that. One more time, very good. Now we're going to warm up our lips, and we're going to go ba 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 ba. Very good. And now, brrr, just like that, you were a kid. Brrr. Now your lips show become alive. We're going to do the tongue next with exaggerated la 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 la. Beautiful. You're getting really good at this. And then roll and that like campaign for the tongue. Finally, and if I can only do one, the pros can the siren. It's really good. It's the start with the we and goes to ow. And we is high to ow is low. So you go wee. Fantastic. Give yourself a round of applause. Take a seat and think up. Next time you speak, do those in advance. Now let me just put this in context to close. This is a serious point here. This is where we are right now. We speak not very well to people who simplify aren't listening in an environment that all about noise and bad acoustics. I have talked about that on this stage in different places. What would the world be like if we were speaking powerfully to people who were listening consciously in environments which were actually fit for purpose? Or to make that a bit large, what would the world be like if we were creating sounds consciously and consuming sounds consciously and designing all our environment consciously for sounds that would be word that those sounds beautiful and one where understanding would be a norm, and that is an idea worth spreading.